I know that we are coming to the end of the first session of today, and I know that our organizers are just giving some conclusions out from the presentations of everybody. But I'll want as well to give you some quick conclusions by myself, listening to the presentations. And I try to be milder than I'm normally. And I just want to point out what was the, let's say, the distillated part of it. Isabel made very clear that the Commission is not prepared to deliver more resources. Fair enough. And we have to look if that is sufficient. It is a good approach to say we have to create as well awareness in the regions and with the national and local authorities. That's good. But we know as well that that might not be necessarily successful, at least not in a time for me as an impatient person. So we have to make sure that there is something else done. And whatever you decide to do on that, to create awareness, and I appreciate what Barbara said, we want to look at healthy people, not only at patients, but at the same time, I do not want always to put the criterion healthy into the square. We look at everybody above a certain age, whatever status that person is. I do not care. Everybody who's above 50 or 55, coming to an elderly stage, has to be looked at and has different needs. And I believe when I just listen to you, Isabel, concrete actions are necessary, early diagnosis, prevention. That's good, but that does not happen from itself. And what is like a red line through the whole presentations is, we are speaking about time, we are speaking about money, and we are speaking about awareness and respect. All those questions Barbara put forward, which should be asked by a patient to the doctor, I can only wish success and luck to find the time to ask a doctor that throughout the European Union. So in those 2 minutes, an average patient has in front of his or her doctor. So if we want to change that, we have to change that. But that needs as well an effort. And if we speak about access to rehabilitation, to quick rehabilitation, you here in UK want to discuss that with Nice and NICE or whoever, and you want to discuss that with health economy specialists. Is it worthwhile to give somebody a certain surgery above the age of 70 or 75 or 80? We have to discuss that. That's a discussion which we have to have in the society. I have a very clear opinion on that, which I said already years and years and years, all the time again. If the European Union, as the wealthiest region of the world, cannot afford to treat everybody from age 1 day till the age of whatever with the same respect and with the same resources, we should be ashamed. But nobody says that loudly. Everybody starts to discuss access to medicines and access to treatments under the aspect of health economy, and that we find it normal that a year of a life has a certain price and that we accept that. I must say I find it disgusting, but I'm very alone in that disgust. And perhaps we want to discuss that as well. And Isabel as well referred to that we should create platforms and an age-friendly environment. I agree. I agree with everything you said, Isabel, besides the fact that it... Maria. Sorry, Maria. Sorry, Maria. Sorry. Besides the fact that it is too voluntary. If there is no clear step and obligation taken by the member states as well, and to oblige one of the member states, which is, if it's now at that time Denmark, or if it will be Cyprus, who are in charge of the rotating presidency, to take that on board for informal health councils with clear obligations, which I checked the other year. We will end in nirvana. We will end nowhere, and we have to be aware of that. And that is one of my conclusions: either clear and controllable decisions and as well deliveries, or it is only a nice presumption, but nothing will clearly happen. About the EMA, I appreciate that CHMP looks at that issue, as with all the efforts CHMP always does. Perhaps sometimes with the, let's say, with a priority to different things. But I believe listening to that today and participating, which I very much appreciate, which took me by surprise because I thought you might not take it too important. So I'm really positively surprised. And I always, as I said before, I follow the work of the CHMP with all my critical sympathy I can have. I appreciate that EMA does that. Identifying gaps, yes. Having an expert pool, yes. Identifying gaps, obviously, there is still some, let's say, a gap as well between what I heard today, listening to the speakers and to listening to EMA and listening to Mrs. Designore from the point of FPR, which I can only say I was surprised. I have to say I disagree with the approach you described. I disagree that you believe that in certain parts where elderly are represented adequately. I disagree with your approach to clinical trials and on the longer drug development timeline. And I absolutely disagree with that global scope which came all around. What does it mean, a global scope? Do we now have the authorization of pharmaceuticals which you produce and you want to sell? That is European, but every other obligation is global under the heading of ICH. So I didn't understand that correctly. My feeling was listening to you was all the time that you try to deviate. It might be a total misunderstanding, and it might be that you really want to take responsibility. But that was not clear to me, and I'm sure FPR wants to resolve that feeling, which would be one of my conclusions today. I want to see more responsibility taken and responsibility taken by FPR, because you are producing pharmaceuticals which you want to sell to clients. So you want to take care of those clients, please, and you want to make sure that they are taken on board. The only person with whom I agreed totally and 100% was Barbara Westerholm. But that was easy, naturally, to agree with you, honestly. I agree with what you said on that there was a sort of discrimination. The only thing I would call it differently. It's a sort of lack of respect. And that we have to look at and to have to investigate ourselves. Do we have a lack of respect to elderly? And do we see that in our society and accept it, let's say, uncommented? I believe yes. I believe that we allow the societies in our member states to be a society for the young. Even that is totally crazy because the society is aging and the money as well for consumption is with the elderly. Therefore, it is totally irrational. But besides that irrationality, we treat elderly people neither with this respect, nor with all that the opportunities they deserve for whatever they have done for raising children and how they have done for the society. And as I said at the beginning, I very often feel ashamed, and I feel ashamed as well how medicines are provided to elderly, how sometimes as well to women. It was very interesting again to see again that women always consume more pharmaceuticals than men because they are prescribed easier pharmaceuticals, by the way, especially pharmaceuticals against depression and everything else. If somebody, but we don't want to go into depth here, I would like to. But if we do not change our attitude there economically as well, and if we don't mention that in the member states, and if you don't go home and put that on the agenda, nothing will change. Let's be aware of that. I might integrate into legislation, a little bit clinical trial here, a little bit better on pharmacovigilance there, but nothing else will change. So if you want to make a difference, you have to make a difference in your health policies and to be prepared as well to allow in the member states that there is money taken to the hand for elderly people, even if it's an investment for 1 year or for 2 years. And I do not want people to count that investment, to say that surgery is about 2,000 euro, but that person will only live another year. So we have to mention that really and to speak exactly those words and to tone them. Otherwise, we only agree with each other that things should change, but nothing will change. Thank you very much.